Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, Avodah Zarah, Daf Chav Ches. We are going to begin on the bottom of Chav Zayin Mid Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Omer Rabba Bar Bar Chanam Rabbi Yochanan. Kol Makkah Shemachanu as Shabbos. Any Makkah which is so significant that we allow you to be able to even violate the Shabbos, in Misrap Mehen. We cannot use them to heal us. Says Rashi, Dainu Makkah Sakana. If you have some type of wound which is very dangerous, then you could be Machal Shabbos. Says Rashi, although She'ein Bo Sakana Misrapin, V'leisle de Rabbi Yehuda de Afilu Rivda de Koisilta Lomasi. So, in this situation, we're saying that there could be a problem going to someone who is over the Avodah Zarah, because by putting yourself in a vulnerable position, they may actually kill you. And as we continue to Chav Ches Madav, Kol Makkah Shel Cholal, any wound which is actually an internal wound on the body, Amos Rapin Mehen, then you cannot go to them. So my Binayu says Rashi, he. Apparently it's the same thing, because we're talking about a situation. We are bringing this down because we saw in yesterday's daf that it says v'chaim behem v'lo shiyomos behem, and therefore we allow you under certain circumstances, unless it's some type of a chilul Shabbos before Hesia situation, but typically we will allow you to be machal Shabbos and other averos in order to preserve life. So again, it says Rashi, hakamashmon. We already learned Masechtas Yoma, the whole Makkah Shel Cholal Mechano as a Shabbos. We already know this. So Ikbenayu Gav Hayad v'Gav Haregel. If we're dealing with the top of the hand or the top of the foot, says Rashi, Mechal Shabbos Al B'Shenu Shel Cholal. Even though it's not an internal wound, the first lashon would say that you can be Mechal Shabbos, and therefore you cannot use them to heal you. However, according to the Lishna Basra, Misrapin, you could use them. The Hoyel Mischazia, people can see. Ichazi, the Mekalkelba, L'chayechle L'tzama Ma'aviroi. So basically, if it's something which is internal, so then it's more dangerous, because they could potentially harm you. However, if we're talking about, even though it is a sakana, something on the top of the hand or the foot, nonetheless, it's not an internal wound, and therefore that is the nafkim. Rabbi, we got a regular. The Yomi Rabbi Adabar Masna Marav Gav Hayad v'Gav Regel Harihin Kemacha Shel Chalal. It's considered to be a significant damage and danger on the body. Machanu is a Shabbos, and therefore you can be Machal Shabbos for that. Omer Rav Zucha Bar Tuvia Omer Rav Kol Makash Tzricha Oimed. Any type of makkah which we need to evaluate it, says then Machamas Hashem, says Rashi, Shemasukenes kol kach, that it's so dangerous, Chesarchel amda im yichya im yomos. So the assessment is, will this person live or die through this makkah? If that's something in which is the severity that we actually are not even sure, we evaluate, is he going to live, is he going to die? So then in that case, because that sakana is so serious, so you can be Mechal Shabbos. Rav Shimon bar Abba Rav Yochanan v'hai ishtad semirta. When it comes to this, Rashi says choyli chama. You're sick because of the heat. You have like a burning fever. It's kamacha shel dami mechal navos Shabbos. So if you have a very high fever, then that's dangerous. So mehechin makkah shel chalal. So where is this makkah? So Pirish Rav Ami mena safav lifnim, from the lips and inward. Okay, let's look at question TA10. So the question says, Eza makkah mechal nos Shabbos umikol makoim. Even though you could be mechal Shabbos, you can still be merapen oisim ma'ako mechal mandi omer madua. So we said that if it's an injury on the top of the hand or the foot, di chazin mekalkel, if you see that he's trying to cause problems to the person's life, so then l'chayach leitzama maviro da mischazile, because you could see what this guy's doing, because maybe he's trying to apply something on the hand or something, which could be a poison. But since you see it, so therefore it's not going to be as problematic. So in this boy, Rabbi Eliezer poses the following kasha. It says, Kochi Mishinimai. What's the din if we're dealing with like molars and your teeth? Kivan diakushi ninhu, because they're obviously very painful. No one can imagine the pain of a toothache. So maybe that's kamaka divroi damu. That's considered to be like an outside makeh. Dilma kivan digavoy kaimo, but they're actually inside your mouth. Kamaka shochalal damu. So again, the question is, what is the din as far as the punishment, the heter of miachal Shabbos? So Rabbi Tashma, so I can prove it to you from this Gemara in Shabbos. Hachayshish b'shinav. Now let's say someone who has again a terrible toothache. So yigma mehenes achaymitz. So a person is not allowed to gargle with vinegar. Chayshishu deloy. So that's only because he has a little bit of pain. If he's in tremendous pain, then it would be allowed. So we see, Taka, that when it comes to teeth issues, that you are Mechal Shabbos, says Rashi, the whole refuah also chamla sois v'shabbos heichadel leika sakana v'shem schika simonim. So there's an issue of schika simonim of grinding herbs on Shabbos, which is for medicinal purposes. So therefore, because of that, that's the reason why we're geyser. But over here, apparently we see that when it comes to someone who has a major tooth problems, very, very painful, then you are Mechal Shabbos. Right? It says, Dilma Tana Hecha Dekoyim Le Tuva Chayshish Nami Karle. Maybe not. The fact that it just says Chayshish, which is a toothache, maybe it has the same din as Koyiv Le Tuva. A very, very painful one, maybe cannot be Mechal Shabbos. So it's not so clear. Tashma. Rabbi Yochanan Chash B'Safdina. So Rav Yochanan, he was in great pain. Rashi says Choyle Heshinaim. He had teeth, a tremendous toothache. Ozul Gaba Deahi Matroniasya. So he went to this woman who happened to be Avodah Koichavim. She was an idol worshiper, which obviously is a big problem. Avodah Chamisha Umali Shabbata. So she created some type of medication, which was prescribed on Thursday and on Friday. So he said, what do I do about Shabbos? Like, I can't come to you on Shabbos. So Malay, well, you don't need it. So he's what if I do need it? So Amr, she said, listen, this is a patented, copyrighted trademark, which I don't want anyone to touch. So Shtabali do Megalis. I'll tell you how to figure this remedy, but you have to swear to me you're not going to tell anyone this my secret. So Ishtabal, and here's the key words, he swore Lelukah Yisrael Lo Megilina, from the God of Israel I shall not reveal it. And then Galilee, so she revealed it to him. He ended up telling everyone in the whole world basically about this refuah. Obviously, because he wanted to make sure people could use it. But the question is, he made a shvuah. How could he violate a shvuah? So he said, no, to the God of Israel, I'm not going to reveal. But I will reveal it to the Gans Klai Yisrael. So you have to be careful with listening to the language of my shvuah. 1 second, but even though maybe it's true, but that maybe he didn't make an actual shvuah, it sounds like a chil Hashem. That he taught this to everyone. Says Rashi, Di Savra, because she thought Ishtaba that Itaka was a shvuah completely. The other shvuah saying that he violated it. So she's going to be chil Hashem. Right? The Goli Mikara, the Goli Mikara. Says Rashi that he told her this right away. Mishan Shigiltalo, Amrullah, he said to her, Da'oid Shalonish Baiti, Lo marti belokad Yisrael elokad di Yisrael. Not bit Elokah, but le Elokah Israel, to the God of Israel, right? Which means to the nation. So therefore, since I told her that, so therefore there's no Chil Hashem. Alma, anyway, what do we see from this whole little story? It's obviously pretty significant, the fact that he needed this remedy to be healed on Shabbos, even though normally we're concerned about grinding up medications and the like. He allowed it. This type of tooth issue is different. Because even though it starts with the mouth, but it could spread terribly into the stomach and it could kill you. So, my simone. So, what exactly is the siman to know that you've encountered this illness called savdina? So, Rami midi bekochi, if you put something in your mouth, umaisi damam bedari, and then blood comes out. Says Rashi, kishenaisin klum otoich piv, yoitze ben shinav dam. Blood will come out. So, mimai, havi mikuriri, kuriri dechiti, machamimi, chamimi detsari. So, this is what you're supposed to use. You're supposed to use like some type of a wheat dish, and also heated barley, umishiri kasa de harsana, and the leftovers of this type of kasa de harsana, which is some type of fats from a fish, together wrapped up with all this flour. So my delay. So the question is, what did this Matunisa eventually do to Rabbi Yochanan? So Rabbi Chia Borei Rava, Mi Sheor B'Shemen, so Mei Sheor B'Shemen B'Zayis Umelach. So she used like this yeast and oils and olive oil and salt. Umar Baravashi Omer Mashcha D'Avza. It was actually a special oil or fattiness that came from a goose. That's what was used, and be gadfa de avza, and as well as the feathers of the goose. Rabbi, no abdi kuhu. I tried all of these v'lo it didn't work. Adi armili hahu tayo, until this Yishmaelite, as Rashi says, informed me, and they said, I see kashiasa de zesa, bring for me the pit, says Rashi, garinen shel zesim, the loy malo tilta, that hasn't completed a third of its growth, the kalnahu, and burn it up. Amr chadta, says Rashi, libin ba'or mar chadasha, that it should basically be burned up in fire. Vidavik be didari avdihache vissi, says Rashi. They put it b'shrois shinayim imifnim. They put it into his teeth inside, and then it healed. So the reason why it didn't work is not because it wasn't true. It was just you weren't using doing it properly. However, once after you were taught, then everything is fine. Of Rabbi Yochanan, who understand? How could Rabbi Yochanan have done this? Yom Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Machash B'Chalanos Shabbos in Misrapim Mehen. We just learned. Okay, fine. Something in which is dangerous, such as this, you can be Machal Shabbos. That I agree. But you used an Ovid Kachavim. This woman was an Ovid Kachavim to heal you. It says Adam Chashav Shani, which is interesting. Normally, an Adam Chashav were more Machmir. Here, we have a Kula. It says Rashi, Mistapini Mimalchusa L'Miktale. So what's the whole problem? The reason why you can't use an Akam is because we're concerned that they may kill you. But we're not concerned over here because it's Adam Chashav. Adam Chashav. Oh, Rabbi Avodah, the Adam Chashav Havi. Rabbi Avodah is also an Adam Chashav. V'ramale Yaakov Mina Tzama Ashke. V'iloi Rav Ami Rav Anasi Dile Chachuhu, that if it wasn't for these two guys, Rav Ami Rav Asi, that removed or licked off the poison, Lasakia Paski Lasakia, then they would have had to literally cut the leg off. Says Rashi, Lahaver Besim Shu Chazak, the poison was so strong that it would have caused tremendous harm to this person. So Rav Yochanan, okay, was an Adam Chashiv. So what? But we see when it came to Ravo, who's also an Adam Chashiv, they didn't care, and they did things which were dangerous to him. Yes, Rav Yochanan Reifa Mumchahavi. The truth is, it's not necessarily dafka the fact that in Rav Avo, even though it was Karbal Malchus and everything, as we find in numerous Masechtas, in Masechtas Sanhedrin and Ksuvis, but this was different, this Matronisa to Rav Yochanan, because Rav Yochanan was already an expert. And we said before, says Rashi, Imohayim Mumchel Rabim Mutter Dulomora Navshe. So, what does that mean? It doesn't mean, let me read it again, Rav Yochanan Roife Mumchahavi. In other words, she was a very well-respected doctor, and therefore she wouldn't kill him, because then she would lose her reputation. It doesn't mean Rav Yochanan was an expert. Ad Rabavo Nami Roife Mumchahavi, Shani Rabavo, Demukmi Be Midi Benavshahu. So even though his case was also a case of, again, of an individual who was a mumche, but nonetheless, that doesn't help, because demok may be mini benafshai, because he put things by himself. Because of that, Tomos Navshi implishtim. We apply the pasuk of Tomos Navshi implishtim, just like when it came to Shimshon, who killed himself in order to harm someone else. So that's how they looked at it as well, because these people were so bad, they didn't care that they were a mumcha. They were so evil that they would be willing to even lose not just their own parnasa, but their own life by harming Rav Avo because of who he was. Okay, let's look at question 4. Question 4 says, Choyli Hashinayim, teeth illnesses, Dim Nikra Maka Shal Chalal, the Machalal was a Shabbos, Dim Mutter Lisrapi Mehen Min Ha'akum. So it is considered a Maka Shal Chalal, so you could be Machal Shabbos. The also Srapis Mehen Min Ha'akum, and therefore it is Taka Usser to do. Okay, and let's just take a look at, similar to TA10 is TB11, which asks the same question, but nonetheless, there's a Mandi Omer that says that I think the answer is just Gab Hayad Val Gab Regel. I think that's what we're looking for there. It's TB11. Okay. Right. Okay. So Omer Shmuel, hi Pedas, when a person this Sakantihi Machanos Hashavos. When it comes to this let's just find the Rashi over here. A patza makas cherev, some wound that came from a sword. So that is mamish, very serious, and Michal Shabbos for that injury. Ma'asusa, so what is the healing? The mifsak dama, to be able to have the blood stop. How can you clot the blood? So tachli b'chol, you should take cress with vinegar. Lasuki garda. Divla vigirda de asna. You should take this herb, and also from a thorn bush. O nikra mikil kalta. So again, these are different things you could take, and hopefully that will heal you. It says Rashi Taloim Shahatarnagoyim Menakrim Ba'ashba. These are like bugs or whatever that would rip up or cause problems in the garbage heap. Okay. Amrav Safra Hai in Vasa Parvanka de Malka de Moisahi. So when it comes to this anivta, like a navim, which are these types of grapes, so we say masukinhu hummus. These things are extremely dangerous, and you could potentially die. Mayasusa, how can you be healed from these things? So get tigna bedufsha. You should take an herb with honey. O karfasa betiloi. So and so in the laws. Tiloi is yain chazak ma'oid, together with this very strong wine. So while you're gathering all these things, leise anivta basmina, you should at least take the grapes within its species. V'nignidar, and you can roll the grape or lie upon it. Chivarti l'chivarti, v'uchmasi l'uchmasi. A white grape to a white grape, and a black one to the black one. Rabbi simta parvanka de ashtahi. So again, when it comes to this issue, which is some buildup of pus, so again, that's extremely dangerous. So how can we heal it? So machi shisin is kaitli. So by the snapping of the fingers, it says Rashi makas etzba sarada, like the Mishnah in Yomi says. So you snap your fingers, midveka begoidlo b'shantu maka b'sfarna. Fine. So lamachi shisin is koyotli. Velikre shesi ve'erim, and you cut it open, the warp and the woof, both sides. Behind me with a little chir reisha, that's only, says Rashi in this bashel, it was cooked l'hoitzi halicha. He refuah, so to get the liquid out. Avol chir reisha leislan ba. Rabbi Yaakov, another story, Chosh, so he was also not feeling well, as we continue to Chav Chesem and Beis. Chosh, so his illness was bepika oiri. So it says Rashi, Perish tabashel beis rei. So he had an issue with either his digesting or his rectum. Rav Ami, so Oirele Rav Ami, Mirmelo Rav Asi Oirele, Lacey Shav Bini Aho. Well, you should take 7 aloe seeds, Toil Navatsayla Bechalol the Beit Savra, and you should put it by the opening. Volachale, wrap it up with Nira Birka, with some type of animal hair. V'tamish le b'natva chira, and you should basically burn it up. V'litle v'hadule ului. So v'hadabahachi, while you're gathering all these things to be able to do this, leisi kashisa da'as. Now you should take the thorn bush, leinach pika v'hadi pika, to put this illness next to the other one. V'hanimili pika ilo. That's only if there's a crack in the anus. Pika tata, but if there's it says Rashi, there's no Rashi over here, but it was on the bottom. So Lacey Tarva rifta, and you should take the fats from a she-goat. So eftach the live shore, you should warm it up. Lishtabain, put it on this injured area. Vilo, if you don't have that, Lacey plus tarpa kara, you should take 3 leaves. Vaishi batul, or to dry it up in the shade. Likely, and it'll burn up. Levad der lahu. The ilo, if you don't have that, then Lacey mishkadi chalzaini. The ilo, if you don't have that, maisi mashach kiro. You should take this item with wax. V'linkait b'shakchi, the kinna b'kaita. Fine. So Rashi actually says the pika tata is perish hanekev milmata, inside the body. Okay. And so the kisa b'kaita v'da amar gufna b'yasusa. And you should take a wool garment for the winter months. Rabbi Avoy chash b'udnei. So Rabbi Avoy, he was also sick. but he had an illness, b'udne. So Oyri be Rabbi Yochanan v'Yemula be Midrasha my Oyri lay was she so ki ha the Amar Abaye Amrle aim. My mother said L'Rebbe Kol Yasa El Udna, that Hashem only created the kidneys for for assessing. Yom Rabbi Amrle min Yomi Asya Kulu Shikainu Kashul Udna Lavar Memaya de Kalyasa. Lace Kalyasa de Barcha, to take that of a sheep, and then Karcha Velikri Shesv Arab. You cut it in both sides. Melenach Amulola de Noira, and you bring coals. Vahanhu Maida Nafki Mine, whatever comes out, Lishdinhu Ba'udne, Lo Kariri V'Chamimi. It's not hot or cold, but rather lukewarm. If you don't have that, then Lesi Tarva de Chefushta. You should bring again this other fat. Gamalniasa Volivsham Lashadable. You should warm it up and throw it on it. Vilo Amalia Udne Mishcha. Then you should take the oil. Levid Shav Pisilta de Aspasta, together with the stalks of aspasta, the lacy shufta the tuma, and you should take a handle of garlic, the lace of bigta b'chad reish, and put it on one head, velitli b'hu noira, and light up a fire. The idach reisha moisva b'udne, the lace of udne l'hadon noira should be put near the fire. V'izdaher mezika, you should be in this case afraid of the wind. V'nishkol chada v'naga chada. Okay. Okay. Lishnachrina. So another interpretation, ilo, if you don't have that, then lacy shampasilta bikra. You should take like 7 stalks of animal hair. V'shayape mishcha de aspasta. And you should put it with this spastos. V'naisi chad reisha benura. You should put one in the fire. V'chad reisha Bu'une v'nishkol chada v'nagach, one gets gored. Chada v'is daher mezika v'ilo. If let's say you don't have it, then lacy udra dinada. Then you should take this wool dye made out of like violet. The loy mashkif, that has not been beaten down with a stick. V'nagach v'nagach v'litle udne Lahadi Naira. Lahadi Naira. Mizdahir Mizika. You should be careful for the wind. Vilalaisi Guvda Dekanya Tika Barmeya Shnin. So if not, this tube will basically be around for 100 years. Vilimlache Milcha Gil Nisa Vilikli Vlidbuk. The simanech, the way to remember all this, rativa livshta. If it's moist, it gets for dry items. The yivshta rativa, and you'll for wet items. So for a moist item, you need moisture for something dry, and you need dryness for something moist. Okay. A person. Actually, let's look at Rashi first before we go into anything else. Maybe we can see a Rashi. So it says, if it's moist, dry for the dry, and dry for the moist. It says Rashi, Kol ha'refuos halolu enon shavos l'chol ha'oizen. They're not the same. El oizen ha'refuos sheish ben davar lach. Something which has some type of liquid, could go in maya, like water, the kilta, umashach kira, like this fat or oil, kiyotzben malan oizin yavashim. It's good for if it's your ear is dry. Sheishul chayli the enu moitzia lacha. Okay, so but on the other hand, if you have something dry, then you want something moist. That's the idea. Okay. So again, Malin Oznaim b'Shabbos. So what does that mean? It says Rashi, Gideos Naim, Pa'amim Shiyordu Mamata, sometimes they go down. Umis Parkin Halachayim V'Tzarach La'aloisam. V'Yesh Sakana B'Davar. So you're allowed to elevate these Oznaim on Shabbos. Tani Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yehuda Biyad Avoloi B'Tzam. You can do this only with your hands, but not with any medicine. So my time. So why only with medicine? Because my time, because Mizref Zarah. Says Rashi, so if you can heal with the hand, then it's better to do it than with medicine. Mizdav Zarif is referring to with the hand. It says Rashi, Oisa Chabura, the Yesh Chil Shabbos Yosim, because if you use the hand, even though it seems to be less of an issue than using actual some type of healing agent, so then you may make things worse. Avol Shiras Sam in Shum Chil Deraisa. There's definitely no Chil Deraisa. Okay. Weiter. Omer Rav Zutra Bar Tuvi Omer Rav. Ayin Shemiradta. If you have an eye that is going to maybe pop out, Mutter l'chuchla b'Shabbos. You can put this special dye on Shabbos. Apparently because otherwise that guy's eye is going to fall out. So Savar, they thought, Savar mina hanimili hu d'shachi simanim me'esmoil. It's only the people that already prepared the medicine from before that were allowed to do and put this coil on your eye on Shabbos. But if you actually did it on Shabbos, and the only way you can bring it is through Rishus Harabim. That we're not going to allow. So Rabbi Yaakov Shmei, Rabbi Yehuda, even if it's on Shabbos, you can drive or bring it there if you will, and it's not going to be a problem. So it's not just that it was ground up before, even if it wasn't. He allowed this to be done on Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yehuda, man says who's going to listen to him? Malchil Shabi is going to be Machal Shabbos. So Saif Chashmine, so he felt bad. So Shalchle Shario Aser. What's the din? Is it allowed or not? So Shalchle Kulyam Shari. When it comes to this, everyone allows it. Didach Aser. But for you is the exception. You cannot put this on your eyes. So V'chi Medidihu Demar. You think it's me? Demar Shmuel. So he amta dahavi be Mar Shmuel de kadcha lo eina b'shabata tzamcha v'leika de ashkach. But no one listened. So paka einai, the eye burst. L'macha next day nothing more. Shmuel v'darish ayin shimarda. If you have an eye that is in such issues, mutter l'chuchol b'Shabbos. My taima. Why? Because the sharini de eina, the nervousness through the eyes, be'uv nasa deli batalu. They're connected to the heart. Kigain mai. So what would count? So Rabbi Yehuda kigain ririd yatzadama dimasa. If you have this issue that blood is basically coming out with your tears, the kidcha you should burn. So it's to exclude the end of the illness, and you're getting better. Upetsuchi eina deloy. Amar Yehuda zibayra v'dach razia silua v'samta v'dachiv le'eina yasilui ishta kuhu Be Bani Sakanta. All of these in the bathhouse are a sakana. Says Rashi. Mishesh olav achas me'elim. One who has one of these things, Shenishchascha, you got bit by a wasp or something like that, or you have like a thorn in your flesh, or you enter benitnas b'merchas ba'achas mehet. If you enter the bathhouse with any of them, that's dangerous. So we say that's b'nei sekanta, chama l'chama. To what's happening? You have heat with heat. It says Rashi, snoin yaflo choy chama. Better soinein to have something cold to offset the heat. But if you have all these heat issues, and then you also go to a hot bath, that's going to be a problem. So chama l'chama, the silka with sinna, and therefore, and also cold for cold makes more sense. And silka is terodin, with regard to beets. Okay, but silka with sinai, the chalufa sakanta. It would be dangerous to switch it around. Chamimi akrava, the kariri was boyre. So you have these different things that could be dangerous at different points. Chilufa sakanta. You switch it around, it can be dangerous. Chamibi with saluya, when it comes to the heatness of a thorn, the kariri, or the coldness, as we continue to chavtes amud aleph, l'chas paniasa chilufa sakanta. So this is Rashi says it's stuck in scabs. So the other way around is dangerous. Chala de tziboiri, this vinegar. Rashi says of a kazas dam, with the heat, after letting blood from your shoulders, usvure nunini with tanisi v'chalufa sakanta. Doing it the other way around is sakana. Tachli v'tzibura sakanta. Cress is endangering your life. Ishta v'sivra sakanta. If instead you have this issue, that's also sakana. That's ki'iv einai. It's as bad as your painful eyes. The svuri sakanta, and it's dangerous. Shani l'dag dam, shlishi loy sakanta. So the third time already it's considered to be a sakana. Okay, let's stop there. We'll see another question. A little bit of a challenging to get through that, but we kind of made it through. Okay, question 5. So malon oznayim b'Shabbos. My time to my neighbor of a little b'tzam. Why can't you put on medicine? So because if you can do it biyad, it's better. So why the other one say you should do it with the tzam and not with the yad? So my man diaymer loy biyad b'meishiyasa chabura v'ikachil Shabbos tfei. So if you use your hand, you can make a chabura, and therefore it's better to actually use this type of medication. Okay, so that was question 5. TA 11, not for a while. TB 12. Tanan achemitz shel akum shahayim etchilaso yayin aser adkan.